What would have happened if Senku was not a smartass who basically knew everything? What if Senku was not someone who had 2 million years worth of scientific knowledge? How would the series play out if Senku was just a super strong protagonist? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stone Zone, the place where I blabber about Dr. Stone. So, as you probably heard from the title, today I'll be discussing how the series would turn out if the protagonist of Dr. Stone was just a strong teenager with average thinking capabilities instead of our lovely and kind prodigy. I'll be going arc by arc until the end of the second season, so all you need to do is catch up to the anime. I must say, I'll be giving some thick plot armor to a protagonist if I am to make this video at least 5 minutes long. The only changes I'll be making to Stronku, yeah, that's his name, is that he's going to be really powerful and has the brain of a normal teenager. Personality, mindset, goals, and backstories are all going to be the same. And with that, let's get right into the video. Also, if you want to know one really cool fact, you should subscribe. Today's fact is that you can be arrested if you push a living moose out of a plane in Alaska. Oh shoot, I don't want to move there, because I love pushing moose out of airplanes. So starting off, Stronku would wake up. Okay, fine, I'll stop calling him Stronku. So one day, Senku wakes up because of some unknown reason. He doesn't know the time or year, but knows that it's been an awfully long time. We'll just say that he guessed how long he had been petrified, so he knows that he's been petrified for about 3 millennia. He knows basic survival skills like making a fire and finding fruits to stay alive. Over time, he learns how to hunt slow animals and can easily survive because of sheer strength. In this case, our normal Senku used brains to find known poisonous mushrooms and fruits to eat. He built a really unstable treehouse because he can. And one day, his bestie Taiju wakes up because Senku had noticed that the stinky liquid in the cave depetrified people. He had been paying attention in science class, so he knew that stinky liquid from bad guano equals nitric acid. So he put Taiju in the cave, resulting in him waking up 6 months later. One day, while trying to find some Namis, he came across a lion. With some effort, they take down the lion. Now, Senku understands that science is needed to progress and rebuild civilization. He finds the statue of the smartest high schooler who had an IQ of 200. Shishio Tsukasa's 2 million years worth of knowledge is needed to rebuild civilization, and it would form the perfect team. Senku's strength, Taiju's stamina, and Tsukasa's brain would form the ultimate tag team, or so he thought. Tsukasa quickly makes revival fluid Nitol because Senku talks about the nitric acid in the cave and Taiju has found some graperoonies. Taiju revives Yuzuriha using Tsukasa's revival fluid and the day of the fight arrives. Tsukasa is obsessed in using science to survive only the youth and has the huge advantage of scientific knowledge. Senku would have to overpower it with sheer willpower and strength, which would have definitely made a boring show if it were the real case. Senku, Taiju, and Yuzuriha manage to escape Tsukasa's bombs and decide to part ways. Taiju and Yuzuriha would act as spies for the Senku Empire. Senku helps Kohaku, who was stuck under the tree, obviously because he's thick. So the next day, Senku comes to Ishigami village, in which case Senku would have a sorcery battle with Chrome. Instead, there would be a battle of strength against Magma. Obviously, Senku would be taking the dub because modern training would be much more advanced than people from the Stone Age. Magma decides to follow Senku because he believes that the strongest should rule. Everyone, amazed by his sheer strength, joins the Senku army. Now obviously, Ruri still has her illness. Senku can't science, so we just murder her, I guess. So anyway, everyone admires Senku because of his strength and humbleness, creating the Senku Kingdom. In the show, Senku gains everyone's respect through the power of science and saving Ruri. However, everyone here are intrigued by his strength. Not afraid, but they admire it. Also, in the series, Senku gives something to the village, which is the power of science. Sure, he uses a lot of labor, but it's for their own sake. But here, the only thing Senku would be able to give is tips for getting stronger. He would make everyone train their asses off to fight against Tsukasa's scientific weapons. Oh yeah, Gen also wants to join Senku because that's how the story goes. I'm sorry I don't have a super smart reason as to why this happens. The reason as to why Gen chose to side with Tsukasa is because everyone saw him winning after seeing his strength. Gen saw Senku's science and believed that he would win. He also found it interesting and surprising. Here though, I just have to say that since Tsukasa is such a boring person, he didn't make science as interesting as Senku. Tsukasa doesn't care as much for allies because he can revive anyone. He probably wouldn't bother making coke for Gen, and that would be why he joined the Senku Kingdom. So, people who couldn't fight, like the elderly and children, would be in charge of making equipment to train, and weapons as well. Since Senku loves to put everyone through manual labor, this is perfect. Now, the one who is hard to talk about is Chrome. We don't know his limits and knowledge before meeting Senku, so it's hard to judge what he would do in, for example, the prison escape. Since Chrome can't fight at all, he has to use sorcery. In the actual series, some people fought with science, and some people fought with pure strength, plus a little bit of science. So here, people who can fight would be enhanced due to Senku's training, so Chrome would still have to use science. He would have to make use of knowledge he has, which is basically you mix this with this, and you get very dangerous stuff. It would have to be basic science he has to fight with, so he would have at least some ideas. For example, let's say he saw a bird go near the sulfuric acid and it dies. Chrome would then understand that the sulfuric acid is beautiful, but the dangerous stuff. And this is how he would fight, despite not fully understanding all the elements. So it's safe to assume that everyone has been training until the Hyoga attack, and that Chrome would be developing his science using Senku's knowledge which he learned at school. Now, the Hyoga attack wouldn't be a surprise attack due to Gen's assistance and warning. This battle would just be raw strength against raw strength, and Hyoga would have been dealt with easily. Anyway, after this, Senku would build a cell phone, but this time we're gonna have to give the cell phone to Tsukasa, who will also be trying to get spies in the Senku Empire. Obviously, he wouldn't succeed because that's not how the story goes. The reason everyone ended up helping Senku is because Tsukasa ruled everyone by fear. Everyone was scared of his strength and knew that he would win because they didn't know the strength of the Science Army. Since that was the reason everyone stuck to Tsukasa until they found out about the Senku Army, we can easily make this the opposite. Senku is an interesting person in general and can get along with any type of character. This is the biggest reason everyone went from Tsukasa's side to Senku's side. Since Senku doesn't have a cell phone this time, we're gonna have to make Ukyo, Nikki, and everyone else encounter Senku personally. So let's just say that everyone hops over to the Senku army, and with that, let's get into the final battle. So unlike Tsukasa's men, the Senku army isn't a bunch of weak and dumb underlings, but instead everyone is decently strong. This battle is going to end just like how it originally goes. Senku and everyone else are backed into a corner by Tsukasa's dynamite. Tsukasa isn't someone who would kill anyone off, except the elderly, so at this point it is a stalemate. Tsukasa doesn't know that reviving someone has healing capabilities, so that answered the question as to why he didn't wake up Mirai himself. Remember, the results are always the same even though the way it happens is different, with one exception, and that is the fact that Senku goes into a coma instead of Tsukasa. I don't intend to continue this type of video, so I'll just make a simple solution, and that is to kill off Senku and make Tsukasa the MC, who would then go on to find the petrification thing and, revive Senku. This video was definitely fun to make, but at the same time extremely difficult to think of a replacement for each incident that happens in the original series. I'm not a genius like Inagaki and struggled to even make a parody of this masterpiece. I mean, yeah, I did have a restriction to not go too far from the original plot, but there were just too many inconsistencies. I just thought this would be a fun idea and didn't consider the plot holes. This show is amazing the way it is, and if Senku was not a selfish smartass, I would have dropped the show a long time ago. I do apologize for the shitty video, but maybe you should go and watch a non-shitty one. This one right here is a review of chapters 90 to 100, and this one is a review of Stone Wars. Subscribe for more Dr. Stone shit, and bye bye. Oh, yeah, you should like the video. I almost forgot to mention that one.